Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing today? My name is Matt Jarbo. Welcome to 3 Buck Theater. And over the course of the past couple days, if you are a true crime aficionado, if you are a true crime fan, as I am, then you've been watching the Unsolved Mysteries reboot, at least Volume 1, which is the first 6 episodes of this new season. And it's brought in a lot of tips. A lot of people have been talking about it. A lot of people have been discussing it. The true crime groups I'm in, they're breaking it down. They're trying to get to the bottom of this thing. And I think it's possible that they might actually be able to do it. But when you think about this particular reboot, I have got some complaints. Actually, I have probably a fair amount of complaints to go along with all of the praise that I have been heaping upon this. And so I did want to talk about the good and the bad about this Netflix revival. So first, let's talk about the good. Producer Shawn Levy and the original creators of the show have recreated Unsolved Mysteries for the modern era. I don't believe there is any other way to describe it. They have gone in and they have given this the Making a Murderer treatment. And by that, I mean the slow-mo, very high quality shots, the drone footage, the way that it's edited together with music to make it feel more ominous and make it feel more dangerous and more kind of engrossing, which is what we've seen in a lot of these true crime documentary series coming out after 2015's Making a Murderer. That was kind of the one to popularize it. And this one is exactly following that particular line of thought. And I'm not knocking it because I think it works out really well, but it also does kind of add to the detriment. So while the production value and the cases are super fascinating, super interesting, especially House of Horror. My God, where in the world is Xavier Dupont right now? We need to find this guy and lock him the hell up, because I guarantee you he probably has done some more worse stuff. Or what about, the case of Ray Rivera or Zoe Brooks, right? Like there are a lot of, Patrice Enders. Or Endress, whatever her name is, right? Like there's a lot going on with these cases, the Berkshire UFO stuff, right? There's a lot going on in the show that is really interesting and really compelling. And a lot of people are diving in because they, like me, grew up in the 80s and 90s watching Unsolved Mysteries. I still will go back and rewatch old episodes of that show because I freaking love it. It's so good. It's so well done. And that in and of itself is kind of the problem. So while the production value is top notch, while the stories and the cases are super interesting, and I think even relevant to our time, it is also kind of a detriment to what I think fans want, what I know specifically this fan wants. And that, of course, is Robert Stack. Robert Stack was as much to credit of Unsolved Mystery, to add to its credit, to its popularity, as quite frankly anything else. And that really is true. Because as more people get back into watching this, I start seeing more comments online like, oh man, I miss Robert Stack. Yes, there is a Robert Stack cameo in the opening credits of the show, which, by the way, Netflix, just as a side note, stop asking me to skip the intro. I'm not going to skip the intro. You're never going to get me to skip that intro ever. That music is still too damn good. It creeps me the hell out. And that, of course, also establishes the problem. These episodes, while interesting, especially 13 minutes, Rob, what did you do? What did you do, Rob? And if you've watched it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't want to spoil it. Rob, crazy SOB, weirdo. But it doesn't have the buildup that the old show has. It treats it like an IDTV true crime documentary. It treats it like a modern age true crime documentary. And this is the problem. While the stories are interesting, while the stories are fascinating, it doesn't have a narrator tying it all together. It doesn't have a narrator establishing the mood, establishing the setting, establishing the characters, establishing all of these things that we have come to know and love from the original series. And yes, that is in part because they want it to be a bit of its own thing. They've said this. They don't want it to be too much like the old show. They've said this. And obviously Robert Stack's demise, yeah, we get that. That makes a lot of sense. They don't want it to be like that because you're never going to be able to recreate Robert Stack or his presence. They tried with Dennis Farina, who I think did a good job, but then Dennis Farina died. So it's kind of like, who's going to be the host now? I don't know. but someone cool, someone who can tell a story, someone who can freak people out. That is one of the reasons why there's long-lasting popularity and love for Unsolved Mysteries. It told a story, but it also established a story. And it didn't spend so much time on one case. And that kept people talking, and it kept people interested, and it kept people wanting more. In this particular situation, you have the first couple episodes, which are just a little bit under an hour, and the last 4 are around the 45-minute mark. In some cases, while Mystery on the Rooftop and 13 Minutes were very good and gave us a very solid, complex view of these stories, or an informed view of these complex stories, I should say, they could have maybe been shortened down a little bit to kind of get around some of the other stuff, right? It felt like the producers and the directors were trying to like tell a good story, make a good documentary, but there's still what feels like a fair amount of fluff that could have easily been, kind of explained with voiceover from someone. And, hey, Robert Stack is dead, but I'm going to say this, and I know people probably will agree and disagree, and I don't know how I would feel if they did it, but Adobe has technology right now that would allow them to basically import voice clips of Robert Stack, somewhere in the neighborhood of like 20 minutes of just raw voice footage of him. And then they would be able to type up the message and have that program basically sample everything he says and then have him repeat it. And this is a true technology. This is real. They don't want to release it out there because, of deep fakes and all that kind of crap. And I get that. But if they could find a way to do that, I would kind of maybe be like, okay to give it a shot and to see if they're able to make it work. But at the same time, it would be relatively creepy. And that is the truth. I think what the show needs to do for the back half of the first season, because I know they're still editing it right now, is to go in, find a host, find that voice. I don't know who it would be. I mean, like Jonathan Frakes, Believe It or Not, that was like, that worked, like that kind of hosting work. Robert Stack worked. Dan Aykroyd with that UFO show on Sci-Fi, that kind of stuff worked. Bring in William Shatner to narrate it. I think that would be interesting, if not a little bit on the crazy side, but it would be interesting to have someone like Shatner come in, or maybe someone like Sam Elliott, who's just got that kind of like deep voice, like, yeah, it's kind of salt of the earth voice. But if Sam Elliott was telling you about a mystery, you would pipe up and you would listen. Or screw it, let's go full bore. Bring us Gary Busey, coked out Gary Busey. I'm going to tell you about some murder. I didn't do it, man, but I think I know who did. My son, Jake. I would watch that. Gary Busey solves true crime. I'm on board, 100%. But I do think that this is something that they need to work on, and I think that I'm not alone. There's been a lot of complaints on that front, so I do want to hear ultimately your guys' take on this one. Do you think that they should do that? Do you think that it's fine the way it is? Do you like it the way it is? Like it's great, and I'm not attacking it. Like I really, really, really like it, and I'm so thankful that it's back, because I love the series and I love true crime and all that kind of stuff. But really, this is like just my nitpicking, what I'd like to see them do a little bit different, because I think we have so many IDTVs and so many, like True Crime Daily, Crime Watch Daily, whatever they want to call themselves, like the Inside Edition, overly edited type of stories where it's like, she walked into a bar, but it was the last time anyone would see her alive. Like that kind of stupid, over the top, written BS that goes in. I don't want that. What I want is just like how Robert Stack would approach it. He would just like little lines here and there just accentuated the story. They didn't over sensationalize the story. They just a little bit of things here and there to just lead us into the next segment, to kind of segue us in, and maybe have multiple stories throughout. Like you have your main story that's a half hour, and then you do a couple smaller stories that are able to go like murder and haunting and kidnapped and missing and all those little segments that were coming next, because we always got these little vignettes before moving on to the next one. And I think a lot of people may like that. Screw it. Bring back John Walsh, man. I'd watch John Walsh and Unsolved Mysteries, although it would be a bit maybe of brand confusion considering America's Most Wanted and John Walsh at the Hunt and this. I get all that. But when I think about this sort of thing, when I think about what I would like as a fan, I just want there to be more establishment and storytelling. And I know I'm not the only one, but I want to hear what you guys have to say about this, so let me know. And just as a thing, if you actually happen to be a fan of this, of what I do here, and you want to help support the channel, and you want to help support what I do just in regards to my own personal podcasting, you can always come over here to anchor.fm/milk carton mysteries, which is my take on podcasting. I look at current and high profile criminal cases from the world at large. I cover all sorts of true crime. It's a new podcast. I'm doing that on my other main channel. I have the podcast goes up live. We have the audio version. There's the clip snippets. I have a new Facebook group, facebookgroup.com/the milk carton. Also check out this group, facebook.com/groups/3buck theater. I'm trying to build it up. So for me, Unsolved Mysteries is not only a big part of my childhood, it very much drove me towards loving true crime. So I just want the best for it. And then I also would love to kind of throw my hat in the ring and contribute on that fashion. So if you want to check it out, by all means, please check it out and let me know your thoughts and your feedback. And especially let me know your thoughts and your feedback on this one. I want to hear it. I will talk to you guys all later. Thank you again for watching. Have yourself a fantastic day and peace out.